G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza, and today we're going to be taking a guided tour through Toon Boom Harmony 12. And I am not the one to take you on the tour. I'm in the very early stages of familiarising myself with Toon Boom, but my friend Colin is, who has started a channel called Onion Skin in collaboration with me. His channel Onion Skin was a bit of an idea we actually formulated together on the premise that I wanted to provide you all with as much Toon Boom resources as possible, as soon as possible, and I knew I wouldn't be able to do that, at least for a while. So Colin wholeheartedly jumped on board with the idea of him creating the Onion Skin channel and building up a variety of content and tutorials, all specializing in Toon Boom, and with the added benefit of outlining the migration process from Flash to Toon Boom. And the great thing about this is it means that before I get to the stage where I'm capable enough in Toon Boom to do tutorials of my own, the content he's providing helps all of you and me as well. So it's really exciting. And in this video, Colin is going to take you through a whole bunch of the major exciting features of Toon Boom. So I have in the past done my first impression review, which was kind of a little, shall we say, spiky, simply because of the user experience from a beginner's perspective. But all of that aside, this video will show you some of the amazing and exciting features of the software that we can look forward to using when we're more familiar with it. So please make sure to go check out Colin's channel Onion Skin and subscribe if you haven't already and you're interested in Toon Boom. The more of an audience he's able to gather, the more content he'll be able to sort of produce and the more feedback he'll be able to work from. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you a guided tour of Harmony Toon Boom 12 by Colin from Onion Skin. Take it away, Colin.
Alrighty then, hello everyone, my name's Colin and I'm a Toon Boom animator, and I thought I'd show you around the working file for this little scene that I got going here. Now just a heads up before we get into it though, I have deliberately made this scene way too overcomplicated, mainly just to demonstrate a whole bunch of different techniques that Toon Boom is capable of, but definitely don't think while you're watching this that you need to know all of these things in order to use Toon Boom. So I'd recommend just keeping an eye out for one or two things that grab your interest, focus on them and you can make some really cool stuff. So I started this project by trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I colored up a brief scene plan thing by using one of Toon Boom's bitmap layers. Toon Boom has both vector and bitmap available in it. This gives it a much more of a Photoshop feel where I could just slap down some color very quickly and easily to just kind of figure out what I wanted. And you see you get a whole bunch of different brush types here, so you get a lot more flexibility. Once I was happy with what I had there, I went ahead and did a refined sketch of the monster that we see rising in the distance. I used a bitmap layer again for this process because it's much more easy and flowy to kind of sketch and lay ideas down. When I was happy with my rough, I inked over each individual body part with the vector pencil tool. Toon Boom animators like to talk about the pencil tool a lot because of its pressure-sensitive stroke. This allows you to get a pretty natural feel in your lines, but you also maintain quite a lot of control over it once you finish drawing as well. So this is a tool that I like a lot and I use it all the time. And as you can see from my layers here and the way each one is highlighting as I scroll through them, I inked each part of the character on its own layer. Again, for the sake of demonstration, I'm using a few different animation techniques, one of which is a cutout puppet. So now that the inking's done, I can move on to coloring it. There's a few fun ways to do this. One such way is to get the paint bucket tool, and you can circle select everything and it will paint everything except for stuff that already has color. From there I added shades of color by using the stroke tool. The stroke tool is pretty much a pencil that has a thickness level of 0, so it's an invisible line that allows you to add in zones of color just like that, and it works quite well. So by repeating that process, I was able to complete the entire character here with these mountains in front, and over here on the left you can see my palette view. Each color can be named and organized just like this, and this has a few uses. You can see if I open up Skin 2 here, I can slide it around and update it whenever I want. And this will apply to the whole animation. So much so that you can take entire copies of a palette that would be used for different lighting situations. So say if a character is underwater or it's the middle of the night, You can see I've got two here with just one click of a button. I have a bright orange version and a deep red version, and I can snap back to the original whenever I want. Just one of the techniques I used to animate this character was by sliding around all of the cutout parts that he was made out of. And you can do this in as much of a basic way that you want or as much of a complicated way that you want. You see this top layer here, I can animate most of the character just through that. But if I want to get down to the real nitty gritty, you see this opens up pretty expansively, and I can get down to every single piece and every single attribute for those pieces. You can see this layer, for example, opens up even further, and each one of these dots represents a keyframe or a point of movement, which I can control both numerically here or using controllers up in the stage view. A different technique I also used for animating this character is called deformation rigs. These are a kind of bone system, but they've got a bit more to it. You can see that as this arm moves, the artwork is kind of manipulating around this point. This is all one drawing, whereas the hand is in a separate piece, which also flows along with it. There's a few different ways this works. You can see if I'll pull this guy up here so you can see what I'm doing. This one down here uses a series of bones and joints, whereas this one is a curve. I can pull that around, pull these handles out, and you see you get quite a lot of extensive movement from what was originally just a flat drawing. So when you build these things up in a clever way, you can get some really flexible characters that you can animate quite quickly, and they're just great fun to use as well. The last animation technique I want to show off is traditional frame by frame. You can see I just used it on this claw here as it opens and shuts, and has its frames down there. And there's a lot of really nice tools implemented in Toon Boom to make your frame by frame drawing much easier and a lot more fun to do as well. Let's have a look. I won't show you now, but one thing I really like about Toon Boom is there's lots of different ways to isolate the thing you're working on, and it cuts away all the nonsense so you can focus your attention. I've done that here. You can see I've just got the rough of my claw. The first thing I did was rough out my two keyframes. You then go ahead and make an in-between using the onion skin feature. Everything that came previous is in red, and everything that is yet to come is in green. Once I finished the rough of my claw, it came to inking it. Now, doing the first two keyframes is easy enough, but what about all the stuff in between? Usually you want to start with the one that's directly in the middle and fill in the gaps, so to speak. This is where the xsheet comes into play. The xsheet is a tool that traditional pencil on paper animators like to use, because consider that they would just have a huge stack of pieces of paper. How would you keep control of the chaos? So this thing was essentially their timeline, where they could log all the information on the order that the drawings came in and how they would be timed. So here you get a lot more in-depth control to your individual drawings. In this case, you can see I named a couple of them, open claw and close claw, and I've also marked those ones with a red K standing for keyframe, and the blue one here with B for breakdown. As well as just being able to keep things a bit more neat and tidy, it has a few key functions as well. So normally if I want to be inking the direct in between of this, but I want to reference the two that I've already inked, it can be a bit of a pain because there's so much to scroll between. But if I flip a few switches, you can see now it will only flip between my keyframes. Flip another switch, it'll show me the breakdowns as well. And yet another one, you can see this one will only show the onion skin for my keyframes, so I can get a really clear idea on where I'm supposed to be laying my drawing. You can see with that switched off, there's quite a lot of chaos. With the character animation done, it was time to set the scene. You can see I drew a few buildings here and animated the camera. By displacing the layers in 3D space, by just moving the camera around, you get some really nice looking parallax effects. There's not a whole lot I really need to say about this. I think you can see what's going on there. They're in 3D space. Yep. And finally, the last stage is compositing. You might have seen this thing off to the side already. This is called the network view. My favorite thing about the network view is anyone who sees it will immediately think, you're really impressive, because look at this thing. It's nuts. What the heck is going on? But quite surprisingly, when you figure out how to read one of these things, it's relatively straightforward. You can basically think of it as layers, but they're all spread out on a table in 2D space. And you start adding effects to them using all of these kind of things here, which is all well and good with things like glow, blur, transparency, all that kind of junk. But the real power comes in with when you start getting creative with them and combining them in all sorts of different and clever ways. I'll give you a few examples. So over on this section here, the first thing you can do is add in a second display so it gets rid of everything except for this chunk of nodes. You can see down here that there's a lot more going on and we're just focused in on the one bit. But from the render, the sun had a lot going on, but in reality it's just one circle. So how did I do that? So the first thread here is just a straight circle, comes through exactly the way it is. This second one here, matte resize, just makes the circle real big. And then I made that thing glow 4 times, so it gets pretty nuts. You can see as I pull them out, it gets less and less glowy. The third one's another big circle, but not quite as big, with different colored glows put into it. And then yet another glow again. So it just many glows, all little bits of different colors, and you get... What is another bit? Down here, this is the bit that gives it the bloom effect, the light rays that come around. So working down this chain, everything's now nice and dark, and then I blurred the whole thing, and then I cut it through itself, so we just see the edges blurring from the edge into nothing again. Put a glow onto those edges, and then times that by itself so it would get even brighter. Dropped the transparency a little bit again just so I could have some control, and then cut that out of a few other places where the sun wouldn't really hit it. Combine that back again with the original image and we get a little bit of bloom coming over, and then combine that finally with the sun itself and we get the final product. So yeah, obviously that example's a bit trickier. If it's doing your head in a bit though, I'm gonna put up some tutorials soon. They're a lot of fun. One last thing is notice how this claw sits in front of the hill while the rest of the arm is lying behind it. This is one other advantage you get from having these complicated strings, is that you can group pieces of artwork together so that they will all move together, but they can still be layered independently. So notice as I pick it up that, yeah, you can see what's happening there. The arm stays behind, the hand stays in front, blah 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 blah. So now looking at the final product again, hopefully you can understand a bit more about how it came together. These buildings in the foreground here, they just got a bit of blur on them as they came closer to the camera. You can see the glow emanating from his eyes. It's just kind of 2 glows, one shooting to the left, one shooting to the right. So that about wraps it up for my little monster project here. I hope you liked it. In the description I've put the working file for this document if you want to sink your teeth into it and try and shred it apart. But it is a bit of a doozy. So I've also broken it up into subsections to make it a bit easier to digest. So there's one of just the monster, one of just the sun, one of just that claw opening closing, one of the buildings that are in parallax, and there's one of the monster with the mountain. That one's a bit more crazy because getting the hand to be both behind and in front of the mountain at different points in the same animation was a huge butt, so that's there too. I would also like to remind you real quick that Toon Boom isn't exactly a user-friendly program, so if you do open up one of these demo files, you may have trouble finding the right controls to be able to explore it properly. So what I'm doing is making a mini-series that I'm going to call Controlling the Beast. That's going to go up on my channel. That's going to take a look at each one of those files I just mentioned a bit more closely, show you exactly how to do it yourself, as a bit of a Toon Boom 101 basics course. So they're going up on my channel today. So go have a look at those if you'd like to see a little bit more breaking down this particular project. If you want to give Toon Boom a crack, if Jazz has behaved himself, he's hopefully put a link in the description below. It'll take you to some free trials. There's 3 different versions of Toon Boom out there. They've all got different levels of features in them. I made this document in Harmony 12 Premium, but you should be able to open it in the other versions of Harmony 12 as well. But I'm afraid if you have Animate Pro or Studio, yeah, you're out of luck, sorry. But you can get the Harmony 12 trials for free, so you can at least have a look at these and muck around with some of the new features. I'm currently working on a full review of these 3 products. They'll be going up on my channel next week, so be sure to give me a subscription if you'd like to know when that comes out. And of course, thanks for having me here on Draw with Jazza. So that's it from me. Thanks for listening to my rambles.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel to see new content every week. Check out more of my stuff by clicking the annotations over there. If you want to support my work and get a few goodies for yourself, head over to my store for archives, ebooks, and get yourself something nice. If you're looking for a great place to collaborate, explore, or share your own content, head over to newgrounds.com. That's it for now, and until next time, see you later.